This is nothing but street war, is what's going on in Baltimore.
The family of a homicide victim shares their frustration about what they call a culture of violence in Baltimore, their demands for justice in a story you're seeing first on Fox. U.S. Senate candidate David Trone shares his legislative priorities with Fox 45 News. His calls for change in Washington as we see a big shakeup in the race for the White House. And championship weekend is set in the NFL, who the Ravens will face after their dominant win over the Texans last night.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
A violent weekend in Baltimore has residents on edge after 5 people were killed in the span of just a few hours on Friday night. Just after 8 p.m., 3 people were killed in a quadruple shooting in northeast Baltimore. Then 2 hours later, 2 people killed in a double shooting in Curtis Bay. One of those victims, a 60-year-old grandmother.
Just people, they have no regard for human life. And it don't matter what you do or what's going on. You could just be walking down the street and just be at the wrong place at the wrong time and lose your life.
And that is sadly what happened. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala, the victim's family sharing their frustration with Baltimore's unrelenting violence. Fox 45's Vincent Hill joins us in studio with his exclusive interview and the latest on this very tragic story. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary, so go ahead and take a look at this picture. This is 60-year-old Mary Lou Schumann, caught in the crossfire while making one last stop before heading home. Her family is still trying to pick up the pieces while searching for answers. It was supposed to be a typical weekend.
It was a Friday night, so let's stop and get some beer.
Like the rest of Baltimore.
Get ready for the Ravens game, yes. We were looking forward to it.
Please, we're real loud. Okay, so now
Mary Lou Schumann, a grandmother of 5, and her boyfriend
Oh, it's precious.
were looking forward to the big game. They stopped at this tavern.
She was
So we put together a proposal we call a people over politics reforms. Politicians get very little done. What we need is more public servants.
And talk to me about why you think it's important to have term limits on politicians, especially when it comes to Congress.
We suggested that the starting point is 6 terms in the House, 12 years, and 2 terms in the Senate, 12 years. You can do both of those, but that gives someone enough time to really get into the job, learn the job, move legislation, but not so much time that they age in place.
If elected to the Senate, would you hold yourself to these term limits?
100%. Yeah, we're on record 12 years max.
I mean, there are people in the Democratic Party who have spent decades in Congress. Do you think you'll face pushback from your own party?
Tremendous pushback, absolute pushback. And that's all right. What it is, it is. They're wrong on the issue. We need fresh blood, fresh people, fresh ideas. And we can't have someone there for 30, 40 years in the same seat running for 85 years old and running for re-election. Is that crazy? That's crazy.
I want to talk about campaign finance reform because that's another big part of this. When it comes to taking money from PACs, I know you've distinguished yourself as a candidate who has not taken any money from PACs.
Right.
Critics would argue that you're spending your own money and trying to buy the election. Where's the middle ground?
Yeah, the middle ground is we need a public financing option for sure. I totally support that. But it's the dark money that you don't know where the money came from. What's that person's agenda? And that's what's in all that PAC money. When I spend $1, it's a dollar that's not going to go to my kids. It's going to tell people about what I'm running for, why I'm running, the issues. It's the issues on whether it's abortion, it's climate change, it's education. It's all the different issues out there. That's quite different than when someone gives you the money and says, oh, I need you to think about my position.
Term limits don't stop at Congress.
I mean, we need to have a finite number of years that you're on that court. We've come up with a proposal of 18 years. So 2 justices will be appointed each year for 9 different cycles, just like the Senate is on 3 cycles. Justice will be on 9 cycles, and we've got to have them accountable.
So who would oversee that disclosure and ensure that those rules are being followed?
Yeah, that's going to have to be in the details. You probably need another court with an ethics committee, maybe the D.C. Circuit Court, which is considered the top circuit court.
Yeah.
That would be a possibility, but there's lots of ideas out there. But I mean, how can we have our Supreme Court justices flying on people's private jets, taking lavish vacations, and then things that affected those companies who were supporting these justices then get before the courts?
Some of this would require a constitutional amendment.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah.
Do you think that there's an appetite for that?
There's an appetite for the Supreme Court to change. It's going to be hard, no question. But what we're trying to do is get the dialogue started.
Congressman Trone also wants to expand the number of members of the House of Representatives.
So our proposal is jump from 435 right away to 585. 150 increase the number of folks out there based on population around the country, and then readjust things as you go every census, every decade.
Do you think that this would really be seen as just an opportunity to expand government and make government bigger?
It's 150 folks that could maybe come up with ideas of how to make government smaller. I mean, I'm for making government, smaller where it's not needed and more efficient. And the more time I spend there, the more bureaucracy we see that is inefficient.
And that was Mackenzie Frost reporting. Congressman Trone also wants to ban congressional members from becoming lobbyists, along with making racially driven gerrymandering a federal crime and prohibit lawmakers from trading individual stocks. Trone and Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks are the presumptive Democratic frontrunners in this race. Congressman Trone mentioned term limits here in Baltimore City. Voters overwhelmingly approved term limits for the mayor, comptroller, and city council members during the 2022 election. The bill limits those elected leaders to 2 terms within a 12-year period. Despite the overwhelming support, Councilman Ryan Dorsey introduced a plan that would put the issue back on the ballot this year, but there was never a hearing on that proposal. Fox 45 News is your home for complete coverage of the 2024 election. Stay with us on air and at foxbaltimore.com as we continue to follow the most important races here in Maryland and the races at the national level. All right, let's go live to M&T Bank Stadium, all in purple, where the Ravens will host the AFC Championship game for the first time next weekend after a resounding win over the Houston Texans on Saturday. And now we know their opponent. Here's Rocco DeSangro with an update on the playoff picture for us. Rocco.
Yeah, Mary, with the divisional round over, the conference championships are set, and the Ravens now know which team they will play next Sunday at M&T Bank Stadium. It's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Casey, the Ravens got the best of the Chiefs in 2021, a 1-point win the last time these two teams played. Patrick Mahomes, 3-1 in his career against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but the 2-star quarterbacks have never squared off in the playoffs. Kickoff at the Bank. That's set for Sunday at 3 p.m. Mary.
Rocco, thank you. The Ravens announced tickets for Sunday's AFC Championship game will go on sale this Tuesday at 10 a.m. The game again set for 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. And after the Ravens game, you can watch the NFC Championship game right here on Fox 45. The Detroit Lions and San Francisco 49ers will meet for a spot in Super Bowl 58. Catch all the action beginning Sunday at 6:30.
And then there were 2. I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at the breaking news in the GOP presidential primary and how it may impact the state of the race.
And this week, we are getting ready for higher temperatures. That starts tomorrow. We're looking at numbers in the upper 30s with plenty of sunshine. Then we get ready for higher temperatures for the middle of the week and rain. I'll break down just how warm it gets and when to expect the next weather maker in my full forecast.
Howard County police say a teen was shot overnight along Rusting Leaf in Columbia. The shooting happened just after 2 a.m. The teen was taken to shock trauma in Baltimore, where he is still in critical condition. Police say they believe the shooting was targeted. This is still an open investigation. Baltimore County police say one person is dead after a barricade situation yesterday near the NCR Trail in Cockeysville. According to police, officers found a suspicious vehicle in the parking lot there with a sign on the window that said, "Don't look inside, call police." Police say the barricade lasted about 12 hours. They believe the person inside the car shot themselves. We'll keep you updated on air and at foxbaltimore.com as we learn more.
It's been another cold day, but we are in for a warming trend throughout the work week, and it's going to feel a little more spring-like by the end of the week, with highs reaching the 50s. Right now, we're still dealing with the cold, though. 23 for the current temperature, a wind chill of just 15 degrees, so the wind's still playing a big factor in how it feels outside. Our temperatures are mainly in the low 20s, a couple spots even in the 30s. So yes, it's cold, below freezing across the state, but it feels even worse. We're seeing wind chills in the teens, several degrees lower than those actual temperatures. So you can expect another bitter cold night with those wind chills likely in the single digits by tomorrow morning. Our low temperatures will continue to fall overnight. We're looking at the teens and the 20s. Then as we head into the day tomorrow, you'll start to notice that warm up. We'll stay nice and dry. There's not much happening around our region, but we have this high pressure system. That high pressure system will work to keep us nice and dry over the next couple days. But once the high pressure system departs, we will be in for a rainy pattern starting for the middle of the week. Tomorrow, highs will reach 39, closer to average for this time of year, and then we jump to the 40s on Tuesday. After that, we're getting ready for the mid-40s on Wednesday, and that's when we'll have the next weather maker. So all of the snow that you see is going to soon melt away, and the rain is going to wash all of that snow away as we get ready for those higher temperatures. On the future scan, notice that continuing overnight, we stay nice and quiet, waking up to clear skies. Throughout the day tomorrow, we'll have plenty of sunshine with a few more clouds moving in later in the day. Then we'll stay nice and quiet into Tuesday morning. You'll notice throughout the day more clouds, possibly a couple of stray showers, but the rain really starts overnight and it will continue into the day on Wednesday as we get ready for a soggy pattern. So mostly dry throughout the day tomorrow and once again on Tuesday, but it's Tuesday night when the rain starts, and notice our rain chances. We're looking at scattered showers on Wednesday, numerous showers on Thursday, and then more rain for the weekend. So have your umbrellas handy as we prepare for that rainy pattern ahead. 15 for the low temperature for another frigid night. Again, wind chills in the single digits, so you want the layers tomorrow morning as you head out to work and send the kids to school. By the afternoon, still a little cold. Temperatures remain below average. 39 for the high. That's about 6 degrees higher than we were today, and the warming trend continues throughout the rest of the work week. 44 and mostly cloudy on Tuesday. The rain follows on Wednesday with highs around 45. After that, 57 on Thursday. We're looking at the 60s for a nice spring-like warm-up on Friday, but we still have the chance for showers. We're looking at more rain on Saturday with highs around 56. And then on Sunday for the Ravens game, temperatures in the upper 40s with another chance for showers. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is suspending his presidential campaign just 2 days before the New Hampshire primary. His move leaves just former President Trump and Nikki Haley vying for the Republican nomination, and the attacks are sharpening between the two. National correspondent Christine Frizzau has the fallout on the campaign trail.
I am today suspending my campaign.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ending his bid to become the next president, throwing his support behind the last one, former President Donald Trump, who has for days now aimed his ire at Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley is using radical Democrat money to fund the radical Democrat campaign operation that she's running.
The former South Carolina governor also getting personal.
If he goes and does these temper tantrums, if he's going and spending millions of dollars on TV, he's insecure. He knows that something's wrong.
Haley now making Trump's age a centerpiece of her campaign.
He claimed that Joe Biden was going to get us into World War II. I'm assuming he meant World War III. He said that he ran against President Obama. He never ran against President Obama. Don't be surprised if you have someone that's 80 in office. Their mental stability is going to continue to decline.
The latest CNN University of New Hampshire poll showing Trump widening his lead. now at 50% over Haley's 39%. The survey, of course, taken before DeSantis departed the race.
And it's time for the Republican Party, frankly, to come together and to unify. We have to unify.
Trump trying to trim the two-person race down to one. Even the Washington Post predicting, barring a meteor strike, there's no realistic outcome to the nomination other than Trump appearing on the November ballot. Haley's supporters, meanwhile, arguing New Hampshire can still change the game.
That's the place where things happen that you don't expect to happen. Look at Bill Clinton, look at John McCain, and the fact that she's only down 11 with a lot of momentum, it's not going to look anything at all like Iowa.
And even before the votes are cast in New Hampshire, some are already looking ahead to South Carolina, Nikki Haley's home state, where she is also behind in the polls, with predictions that barring a big surprise on Tuesday, this nomination process could be wrapped up pretty quickly. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
Another voice joins the growing frustration surrounding Baltimore's bike lanes, why one resident says the city should reinvest its multi-million-dollar plan. Frustration over Baltimore's $73 million bike lane proposal, as some residents say they aren't getting their fair share of input. Fox 45's Taylor Stewart looks into why one Baltimore resident says the city should revisit its plan.
City planners say they're only now starting to look into how many people utilize the bike lanes at play, but residents say you don't need a study to see they're often empty.
They're following this model of if you build it, they will come.
There are more questions about Baltimore's bike lane plan as engineers and residents argue the city's falling short in its research.
We did get a grant where we have installed some bike counters in certain locations. Beyond the bike counters, I don't know that we have actual data.
If we are basing millions of dollars on a plan that is supposed to be moving forward into communities, we need to have that data readily available and available to the council people.
Councilwoman Felicia Rashad raising the issue at a recent city council meeting as traffic and frustration swells with the growing number of underutilized bike lanes.
You know, the time has been passed to reconsider.
In fact, transportation officials admit they're only now beginning to count how many bikers are actually biking in Baltimore, despite the initiative's hefty $73 million price tag. In the meantime, on this stretch of Harper Road, drivers are backed up after the city eliminated 2 lanes of traffic and installed 2 bike lanes instead. And add that congestion to a week of winter weather delays.
There's very, little use of them.
Transportation officials insist their redesign of city roads is guided by a master plan approved more than a decade ago. And that plan, they say, requires community input. Yet some residents insist they never had any say.
I would say maybe let's reconsider where some of them go, but also let's get our priorities straight on, where we can really spend this money to have the best investments and return on investments for our members of our communities.
Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News.
Well, former Mayor Jack Young signed off on a pro-bike lane proposal 5 years ago, but now he says he regrets that decision.
My thought was that we need to have alternative for people who ride bikes to be able to get around the city, but not to the magnitude of this. It's just totally ridiculous how they're building all these bike lanes, putting these flex lanes up, and the streets look a mess.
Young is calling for a moratorium on bike lanes across the city as city residents who say they were never consulted about the redesign of the roads in their communities. A child's illness during the Pfizer COVID vaccine trial leading to questions about the pharmaceutical company's study. Full Measure investigates after the break. Florida's Surgeon General recently called for a halt in COVID-19 vaccines due to safety questions, while the federal government continues to promote the benefit of vaccines. Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson shares one child's story after he became very sick during the Pfizer vaccine trial.
In summer of 2020, Stephanie DeGarry and her family learned an important clinical trial was about to be launched at nearby Cincinnati Children's Hospital. It would test Pfizer's experimental COVID-19 vaccine on 12 to 15-year-olds to see if it was safe and effective. The DeGarrys, firmly pro-vaccine, didn't hesitate to let their children take part. Among 3 siblings, 12-year-old Maddie alone was chosen to get 2 doses of Pfizer's vaccine rather than a harmless placebo. It proved a fateful and debilitating roll of the dice.
She said she felt like her heart was being ripped out, so chest pain. She had severe abdominal pain.
Did you think right away that this was probably a vaccine reaction?
100%. There was nothing wrong with her prior to that.
Maddie was rushed to the ER 9 times. By the time she was hospitalized for the 3rd time, she had heart problems, seizures, was passing out, vomiting, unable to swallow, and was fed through a tube. She was in the hospital that time for a month and a half.
Hey, welcome back.
I need to take this out.
Okay.
Studies are conducted to identify and investigate any health risks. Maddie's reaction was a giant red flag for Pfizer's vaccine. But the DeGarys say those involved seem more interested in blaming Maddie's illnesses on anything but the obvious culprit. While Maddie was fighting for her life, the FDA granted emergency use of Pfizer's vaccine for kids as young as age 12, based on the study Maddie took part in. In a press release, Pfizer reported its vaccine had a favorable safety profile observed across 6 months of safety follow-up data after the 2nd dose. No mention of what happened to Maddie. It sounds like you have the sense that government / the drug company and study folks did not want to acknowledge this as a vaccine adverse event.
No, they did not. They reported it as functional abdominal pain, so that's basically a stomach ache that you can't explain.
The DeGarys gave the government and those who experimented on Maddie permission to talk with us about her case. However, Pfizer, Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and lead study scientist Dr. Robert Frank declined comment and wouldn't answer our questions. Same with CDC, which also wouldn't tell us how many adverse event reports in children it's received for COVID vaccines. The FDA told Full Measure, the FDA takes vaccine safety very seriously and continues to monitor reports of all adverse events. We asked federal health officials if they agree with Pfizer's published claim that, quote, there were no serious vaccine-related adverse events in their study on children, but they declined to answer the question. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
Behind a stellar defensive outing and a 4-touchdown game from Lamar, the Ravens will host their first AFC championship ever. Rocco and Morgan break it all down for us in Sports Unlimited. Well, plenty of Ravens fans out braving the cold for Saturday's win over the Texans. Pablo chimed in with this picture of his family all bundled up cheering on the team. All right. And it's never too early to start your fandom, right? Lachelle shared this photo of her 5-month-old son locked in on the game. Look at the focus in his eyes, not taking his eyes off it. Well, we want to see how you're supporting the Ravens on the playoff run. Chime in with your Purple Pride photos by scanning that QR code right there on your screen. You also can submit your photos at foxbaltimore.com or on the WBFF app. And that's all the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you so much for watching. Morgan Atzett and Rocco DeSangro joined us now with Sports Unlimited. Lots to report. Morgan and Rocco.
Thank you, Mary. You're right. Coming up tonight on Sports Unlimited, for the first time in Ravens franchise history, the AFC Championship runs through Baltimore.
And the stage is now set for next Sunday with the Ravens playing host to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, it's going to be a goodie. The Ravens say bring them, because when they've got the best defense remaining in the postseason and basically a 2-time MVP quarterback, the Ravens know they've got something special cooking, and it'll be home cooking. Roquan Smith has a favor he's asking Ravens fans for their final home game of the season.
Speaking of Roquan Smith, he's usually the one firing the Ravens up, but it was the halftime speech from Lamar Jackson that sparked the Ravens' second-half charge in the win.
Only a handful of Ravens know what it's like to win a Super Bowl. One of those is receiver Nelson Aguilar, who did it with Philly. His message to his teammates on how to get it done. When Sports Unlimited continues after this.
Our guys are going to stay edgy. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but they're determined and they're motivated. And it's going to be a great team coming in here next week. And we're going to have to play our best football. And I promise you that's all these guys are going to be thinking about.
Well, we now know that team. It's on to the AFC Championship next Sunday for the Ravens. Welcome into Sports Unlimited. She's Morgan Atzett. I'm Rocco DeSangro. For the first time in Ravens franchise history, that AFC title game comes through Baltimore.
Yes, it does. When the Ravens entered the playoffs, they had faced all but 2 AFC teams that reached the new season. And it was those 2, the Chiefs and Bills, in the other divisional, playing to punch their ticket to the AFC Championship game at M&T Bank Stadium right here next Sunday. And no, the AFC Championship is set for the bank. It's next Sunday, the 28th. Kickoff set between the Chiefs and Ravens at 3. They did not meet this season. Lamar Jackson beat the Chiefs for the first time in the 2021 regular season. Last night, the Ravens didn't care who lined up for the AFC Championship. They just wanted their fans to be ready for the final home game of the season.
I think the best fans in football, and the way they come out. I don't know what they be on, liquid courage or what, but they get at the top of their lungs, and I love to hear it. So it's definitely playing a big part in us. And I was talking with some of the edge rushers early in the week, and like they really enjoy it even more because like knowing the snap counts is going to be more predictable when it's as loud. So make sure you guys come out loud as crap next week.
Let's break down this matchup with you via our X question of the night. It is set Chiefs-Ravens for the AFC Championship. We want to know your thoughts and prediction. Send it my way at Morgan Atza, and we will get to you later in the show.
With the win over the Texans, the Ravens will host an AFC Championship for the first time in their history. Brandon Stevens thought he had trouble hearing last night. Imagine how loud the bank's going to get for this one. This will mark the Ravens' first appearance in the conference championship since the 2012 season, the year they went on to win the Super Bowl. This group looking to do much of the same, and now they're just 2 wins away.
It's meaningful, now we got to get to work and go win it. That's really that's the challenge.
I think that's crazy. I thought the Ravens, growing up, I was a fan. I watched them for year after year, and I was always thinking they played at home, but they've been busting tail back, especially when Ray Lewis and them played. I didn't know they played on the road or not, but I was watching them, so it's crazy. I'm just glad to be here, be a part of this whole thing, man, this run, and hopefully get the win next week.
Well, it was truly a tale of 2 halves in the divisional round over the Texans. Lamar Jackson and company just 1 touchdown the first 2 quarters and 3 straight 3-and-outs heading into the break. Different story in the second half as the Ravens found pay dirt on their first 3 offensive possessions. So what changed? 1, they made adjustments, and a passionate halftime speech from Lamar Jackson. That definitely helped lead the charge.
It'd be inappropriate if I said it right here. It would, but yeah, we wasn't really doing anything, to that defense. They was playing great, and that offense was playing great as well, but we wasn't doing our job. A lot of cursing at halftime. That's why I said it was inappropriate, Ron.
We are as he goes, you know what I'm saying? Like his personality, he is the Baltimore Ravens. He leads the right way, by example, but also when it's time to talk, it's said, and then he executes.
Tied 10-10 at halftime, an offense that didn't get going until the second half. A defense solid all game, but no sacks and no takeaways. And yet the Ravens still came away with a 34-10 blowout win in the divisional round over Houston. With more, nose tackle Michael Pierce and I went one-on-one post-game. Pierce was a member of those 2019 Ravens that had an early exit. Starts with how big the bye was for this squad that's clearly on a different path.
It was major. Guys who were injured, we got Zay back, Zay Flowers back. Little Nixon injuries got to heal and just be unbothered.